Let's talk about language learning in 2025. I didn't really know what title to give this video, but it's the new year and I want to talk about language learning. So, language learning in 2025. I want to talk a little bit about my past year, 2024, in terms of language learning and things that happened in that process and things I learned along the way. And I want to talk about what my plan is, let's say, for 2025. I don't have extremely specific goals, but there's something really interesting that I want to do this year for my language learning process. So I'm going to talk about all that. I'm sure that this will be helpful for you and that you'll be able to kind of take some lessons from what I'm saying, or maybe you just want to hear about my language learning successes and failures because I'll talk about those. And before we continue, please click on the little bell to activate the notifications so that every time I put or I upload a new video, you'll get notified so you don't miss these videos. I know you all love them. You like this format. For some reason, you like seeing my face. I don't know why, but I'm glad you like these videos. Okay, let me talk about 2024 and how that year was for me as a language learner. Well, the beginning of the year, the first 5 months or so, were crazy for me just in terms of my life. It was a very turbulent time. It was like this, the circumstances were very unique. I'm probably not going to have another time period like that in my life again, or maybe I will, I don't know. But the circumstances were pretty unique. And so it wasn't like I had all the time in the world for language learning. However, I did do my Italian challenge at the beginning of that year. I actually started it in December of 2023, but I did most of the challenge at the beginning of that year. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I did a challenge where I started learning Italian and I learned it for 100 days. And the reason why I did this was to help other English speakers who want to learn other languages, specifically Spanish. I have friends and people I know that want to learn other languages. So I kind of did this challenge to show what I would do to start learning a language during the first 100 days or 90 days or 120 days or whatever, right? So the problem with this challenge was that I didn't really want to learn Italian. I don't mean to offend you if you're Italian. Your language is beautiful. Your country is amazing. It's the most beautiful country I've ever seen. But we have different desires in terms of languages that we want to learn. I'm sure most of you want to learn English. That's why you're watching this video right here. I have certain languages that I'm really interested in learning and others that I'm not as interested in. I'm somewhat interested in Italian because it's really beautiful. It's got a lot of history. It's a language that is very interesting just in general. But for me personally, Italian just isn't the language that I really want to learn. I just chose it because it's the most, it's the closest I could get to another English speaker learning Spanish, for example, because I wanted to replicate that process. And I already speak Spanish, I'm learning French, I've learned a lot of Portuguese. So I was trying to find a language that was similar to Spanish, but that I didn't know yet. So that's why I chose Italian. And the challenge went pretty well in the sense that I had pretty good results after 100 days. I was happy with my results, despite the fact that halfway through the challenge, I completely lost my motivation. And I did like the final 50 days just because I had to, not because I wanted to. And despite that, I had decent results, but I learned through that process how important motivation is. People often downplay motivation in favor of discipline. That's what all the personal development, self-help people will tell you. Discipline, discipline, discipline. You're not always motivated, but you have to be disciplined. And obviously, there's a lot of truth to that. But in general, if you're learning a language, you better be motivated to learn it. If not, I'm sorry, but it's not going to be a fun process. You're not going to progress quickly. It's going to be a chore. So motivation is extremely important. In some cases, in my opinion, it's even more important because I've seen this for myself in that Italian challenge. I was really, really disciplined with that for 100 days or whatever it was. But the lack of motivation in the second part of that challenge just really hindered me from progressing more. I progressed a lot the first 50 days and a lot less the second 50 days because the first 50 days were cool. I was inspired and motivated. And the second 50 days, I wasn't. If you look at that whole period, the one difference between the first 50 days and the second 50 days was my motivation level. So I learned that from that challenge, but I was happy that my methods worked, and I could say that, yeah, like I can help people that want to learn Spanish from scratch. I have kind of a process that they could copy, and it will help them progress a lot in 100 days or whatever. So I'm happy about that. But from here on out, I'm only going to do challenges with languages that I actually want to learn. I'm not going to do something like that again unless it's a language I want to learn. So that was kind of a lesson for me from that. But currently, this is what I wanted to talk about, mostly in this video, is that currently I'm more interested in developing my language learning methods and my philosophy when it comes to the intermediate level, not the beginner level, the intermediate level of language learning, and specifically the act of speaking. Okay, I'm the listening guy. I'm sure that there are few people online that have made more content for listening than I have. If you know someone who does what I do and has done it for longer, or who has released more videos or episodes or whatever, I'm interested to know. Please leave that down in a comment below. But I think that there are few people online that have produced more listening content in terms of podcast episodes and videos than I have. So I'm the listening guy. My podcast, my YouTube channel, they're called Listening Time. And I hope, and I don't just hope, I know that my content is really useful for people that are training their listening. This is kind of like my mission with my career, to help people with their listening and be able to understand native speakers better, right? And that's great, and I'm sticking with that. I'm not going to suddenly change my content, of course. But for myself, I really feel the need to further develop my own philosophy, my own theories, my own beliefs about the intermediate level of language learning, and specifically speaking. Okay? Why? Why do I want that? Well, because in 2024, I stagnated with my French. I did not achieve the goal that I had set for myself. I lost motivation for several months, probably like, I don't know, maybe 3 months or something like that. It wasn't that I had no motivation, but my motivation definitely wasn't where I thought it would be. And I think it is mostly because I wasn't seeing the progress that I wanted to see with my speaking. I progressed for sure. Don't get me wrong. My speaking definitely improved. I'm still taking classes multiple times a week. I'm seeing improvement. That's great. But I want it to be faster. I want the improvement to be more noticeable in a shorter period of time. And I think that the improvement that I have had has been slow and steady, right? Which is good. But my career is languages. It's helping people with their English. And not only that, I feel like I talk a lot about language learning in my videos, in my podcast episodes. And so I'm not only giving people content for their listening, I'm also giving them advice about language learning. I'm talking about my own language learning progress. And this is my career. And so for me, it's not acceptable to just say, okay, well, I think my process is okay. I'm improving a little bit. Great. No, I want to get better. I want to develop a process, a method, a philosophy that will actually help people become even better in their language learning, improve faster, reach a higher level of speaking in a shorter amount of time, right? I am searching for that. That's part of what I want to do with my career. I want to just better develop my ideas about language learning, and specifically right now, speaking at that intermediate level is what I'm focused on, because that is what has caused me to lose motivation in my own language learning. And I think that's one of the number one things that causes you, all you listeners, well, you're on YouTube, so what is that? You're a watcher, whatever. I can't think of the word right now, but all of you who are watching right now, I'm sure that you can identify with that feeling of just wanting to be able to speak better, be able to get the words out and progress faster with speaking. And so that's what my focus is right now. And again, I'm super happy with all the content that I've created. I know that it's helped hundreds of thousands of people with their listening and their speaking as well. But I want to address this frustration with not being able to speak, even though you have a decent level of listening, right? I get that comment, that message all the time. I feel like I can understand pretty well, but I just can't speak the way I want to speak. My speaking is just so much worse than my listening. That is the frustration that I'm obsessed with right now. And just recently, a light bulb went off in my head. We use that phrase like a light bulb went off. It just means like you had this idea all of a sudden. So a light bulb went off for me, and I have been able to reflect a lot over the past couple days in terms of my language learning process, my past language learning experiences, and I think I'm on to something, meaning I think I have found what has been missing for me, that missing link. I'm really excited about this. It's nothing revolutionary. It's not some really interesting new method or technique. No, it's just something that I've been missing, something that I have been overlooking up until this point, and now I feel like my eyes are opened to it, and I'm excited about that. So this idea that I just had, that I've been thinking about a lot in my head, I'm going to put it into practice. I've already started, actually, I think 2 or 3 days ago. I'm starting to do it little by little, and I'm not going to share what it is with you right now. I know that's going to frustrate a lot of you. The reason why I'm not going to do it yet, why I'm not going to share my idea with you, is because I need to put it into action first, and I need to test it first. I'm not going to share something with you and then I realize it doesn't work, and then I have to come back and say, oh, sorry, everybody, don't do that, right? I want to test this out. I want to give it some months, and specifically, I plan on doing it for the next 4 to 6 months. I think that's enough time to really kind of see the effect that it has had. And then I'm going to share the results after that if they're worth sharing. But I think they will be. I'm excited about this. Again, I'm sorry for the mystery that I'm not going to say it yet, but just know that Connor here, he's thinking about you and your language learning process and your frustration with speaking, and he's trying to discover ways to help you with that. That's what I'm doing. It's for me too, obviously. I want to get better at the languages that I learn. I want to solve my own frustration with speaking, and in that process, I want to help you solve your frustration with speaking. One of the worst frustrations that we have when we are learning a language. And what's interesting about this is that I've already achieved a high level of fluency in Spanish. It's not like this is the first time I'm discovering how to speak at a pretty high level. No, I've already done this with Spanish, and I've said this many times. I know that my motivation level, my level of motivation when I was learning Spanish was insane. It was like the highest it could ever be because of my circumstances, right? I was trying to marry a Spanish speaker and move to her country and live my life in that country. You can't really get more, you can't find a better reason than that, let's say. So I know that my motivation was insane, but that doesn't negate the fact that I did achieve that level. And there are things that I have noticed that are different about my language learning process now and the way I learned Spanish, things that are different that I think might be holding me back from reaching a higher level of speaking in a shorter amount of time. I think that if I continue what I'm doing now with French and I don't change anything, I think that over time I'll reach a pretty high level of speaking, but it's going to take a long time. And what I'm trying to do is really shorten that process. And I think there are some lessons from my time learning Spanish that I can take and use to improve my French learning right now. And so that's what I'm doing. And it also helps me out knowing that I've reached a high level in a language already. I know that I'm not just doing this language learning thing for the first time, and maybe I'll fail because I just don't know how to reach a high level in the language. I know how to do it because I've done it before. But the problem is that these processes and the things that we do aren't always super clear. Like, oh, what did I do that worked well then that I'm not doing now? Or what am I doing now that's different from then? Why was it different then? These are things that I'm figuring out right now. And this is exciting for me. I think you can tell that. So this year, 2025, and if you're watching this later in 2026 or whatever, this is all still relevant because I'm just talking about my current goals. But really, my goal this year is to put my new method, I guess you can call it, into practice and still keep my listening routine. Don't worry, I'm not saying that everything I've told you up to this point is wrong. Of course not. Keep doing everything in terms of your listening, what you're doing. I'm not changing my listening at all, right? I think that is all solid. That needs to be there. That is like the foundation of all this, right? So my listening is still staying the same, right? I listen when I go walking, when I run, when I exercise. I listen even just here at my house. I do a lot of listening, and I'm going to continue with that. But I'm kind of changing the other part or adding another part to that. And my goal this year is to put that into practice and see what happens. Really dive deeper into the language learning process. As I do this experiment, I'm really trying to become just more knowledgeable about how our brain works in terms of language learning, how we memorize things better, retain things better, what our brain likes and doesn't like in terms of the language learning process. It's kind of like a science experiment, but without a whole lot of science. I'm just doing trial and error in a very basic way, and I'm just going to see if I can really discover the missing link here. I'm being a little bit, I'm exaggerating a little bit here. There's not like one special missing link that's going to unlock everything, but I'm calling it that because I feel like it's the missing link that's keeping me from reaching a higher level of speaking in a shorter amount of time. So this year, I really want to dive deep into that and document that, right? If it works, I want to tell you about it and help you out with that. So I hope that by the middle of this year, or maybe it will have to be towards the end, but hopefully by the middle of this year, I'll have a more complete method and philosophy on how to reach a relatively high level of speaking in a foreign language. I feel like so far my philosophy has focused mostly on the listening, the understanding aspect, and I think it's solid and I'm really happy with it. And now I'm just trying to add in the speaking part. And so I think that this will work. That's why I'm saying it right now. If it ends up failing, it kind of sucks because I just spent a whole video talking about it. But I think it's going to work, or it's at least going to work to a certain extent. And I'll be happy with that. So that's kind of my goal with this year. So I'm going to continue with French because I definitely didn't achieve my goal in 2024. I didn't reach like a B2 level of speaking. No. So I want to continue on with French. This is the language that I'm going to use to do this experiment on, and I'm motivated to learn French, not like Italian. I actually want to learn French, and I'm going to continue on with French. And then if this works and I reach a decently high level, I don't know how to classify what I'm talking about here. I just say a decent level, let's say, because if I say high, people have different ideas of, oh, a high level is like way up here, and other people think it's right here or whatever. That's why I use the word decent, because I don't want to say that I have a high level and then someone hears me speak and they say, what? You're still making mistakes. That's not a high level, right? So everyone kind of has a different definition of high. So I'll just say decent. If I reach a decent level of speaking in French, then I'm probably gonna move on. Not like I'm never gonna practice French again. But I'm going to change my focus after that. I'm going to hopefully maintain my French and have some conversations and just keep that somewhat active. But then I will change my focus. Before, I was 100% convinced that I wanted to do Greek again after French. And that's probably what I'll still do, because that's the language that attracts me the most to learn. So I'm probably going to go on to that if everything works well with this method that I have for French. But I kind of had an idea yesterday that if this ends up working and I reach a pretty decent level of speaking in French, I might want to use this and apply it to my Portuguese. Because even though I'm not motivated to learn Portuguese right now, Portuguese is a language that I have learned in the past, and I've got a good foundation there. And it would be interesting to replicate the same thing that I'm going to do with French right now with Portuguese, because it's at that level. It's not like I'm starting from scratch. My Portuguese, if I started learning again, is probably still at a level where I could have conversations with tutors without much difficulty. There would be tons of words that I wouldn't know, let's say, but in terms of forming sentences and the grammar and understanding and all that, it's probably still at a somewhat okay level. So I could switch over to Portuguese and try the same method with Portuguese to see if I can reach that same goal of like speaking at a decently high level in Portuguese. So I kind of had that thought yesterday. Portuguese doesn't motivate me as much as Greek in terms of wanting to learn it. But if I succeed with this method with French, I might just be motivated to try the method out again and just replicate that with Portuguese, because like I said, right now my focus is on the intermediate level of language learning. That's really what I want to focus on right now, so I can help people who are at that level. And so Greek, I'm nowhere near an intermediate level. I've forgotten almost everything. So I'm starting as a beginner again. So I won't be able to maybe do the same thing with Greek until I reach a higher level. And I might not want to wait that long to reapply this method again. So maybe I'll try it with Portuguese. Who knows? It'll probably either be Greek that I go on to next or Portuguese. But that's in the future. Right now, my focus is French, and my focus is to develop this method, this theory, this methodology about the intermediate level when we're trying to speak and reach a comfortable level of speaking. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that, and then we'll see what language I want to do next. So I'm sorry if this video left you feeling confused, like what the heck is Connor talking about? This is so mysterious. Sorry. I apologize for that, but I just want to talk about my current thought process when it comes to language learning. I want to document this. My language learning is public knowledge. I talk a lot about my language learning on my podcast, in these videos. So it's just something that I feel the need to do because people know I'm a language learner. I give advice about language learning, and I feel the duty to become a better language learner to help people like you. So that's why I document my thoughts, even though they're a little scattered, a little mysterious. But hopefully I'll come back in 4, 5, 6 months and I'll say, hey, do you remember what I told you at the beginning of the year? It worked. Now let me share that with you. I hope I'm able to do that. Maybe it won't work. Who knows? But at least I want to try, right? I want to try to really accomplish this thing that I want to accomplish. So I appreciate your patience with me throughout this video, and hopefully things go well, and I reach a pretty decent level of speaking in French by the middle of the year. That's my goal. And I hope that your goals are set for this year for your English. I want to remind you that one way you can reach your goals is by using my advanced podcast episodes or using my US Conversations podcast, in which I talk to different people from around the country. We talk at normal speed. I provide the transcript for you with the definitions of key words and phrases. So it's really helpful for you to start to become accustomed to hearing more than one person talking, okay? That might be your next step. So both of those links are down below. I hope that my content helps you reach your English goals for 2025. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll talk to you in the next one.